Coming to you from an undisclosed location, somewhere deep in the heart of the Santa Monica Mountains, I'm your intrepid host, L.A. Marzulli. Special announcement, this is Politics, Prophecy, and the Supernatural. Folks, I'll be gone for about 10 days. We're going on a much-needed vacation, the wifey and I, Miss Peggy. We're going up to an undisclosed location to ski, my favorite thing to do, even at 70 years old. But lots is going on. I'm taking my cameras with me. If something biblical happens, and I think you get my drift, I will be basically coming back on. But here's the deal. A couple of years ago, I spoke at Church of His Presence, John Kilpatrick's church, and they did a 3 or 4 camera shoot, including a huge jib and great camera work and everything else, and they edited it and let me have it. And that's what we're going to show you. It's at least an hour and a half of me talking about UFOs and the coming Great Deception. It's something that you'll want to see because of what's going on. Our editor-in-chief back at the homestead in Oklahoma, John Adam, will be editing that, part 1, part 2, part 3, and so on. So we've got about 10 days where I won't be here, but John Adam will be editing and rolling that out, so you'll be able to watch in little short segments like that. And eventually, when we get back, we'll have the DVD up on our streaming.lamarzulli.site. Thanks so much for watching Politics, Prophecy, and the Supernatural Report. Thank you so much for your support for all these years, and we will see you in about 10 to 12 days. Research shows us that up to 50% of the U.S. population makes New Year's resolutions, but fewer than 10% will keep them after the first few months. In fact, 27% will have given up on their goals in the first week. 31% will have given up in the first 2 weeks. Just over half will survive the first month. One of my resolutions is feeling my best and looking my best. The way I'm going to be doing this is with ageless multi-collagen. Go to healthwithla.com, that's healthwithla.com, and get my favorite collagen for 51% off today so you can look and feel your absolute best. Or click the link in the video description box below. Once again, www.healthwithla.com. That's www.healthwithla.com.
And I took Dr. Roger Lewis the last time I ever saw him. He passed away several months later. We went to Peru. So this is on a Saturday. We're doing the implant extraction. This is now Monday. It's the last time I ever saw him alive. We're at Seal Lab. We've cut the implant. We're able to look at the implant under a standing electron microscope. We're looking for double-walled nanotubes, about 80,000 times down, magnification, that type of stuff. And I go, Raj, come here. I take him outside and I go, Roger, I hope you understand what happened in that operating room on Saturday. Now, Roger was the type of guy, he knew I was a Christian, he knew I was a pastor, and we'd be eating lunch. And I say, I love the guy, he's amazing, was an amazing man. But he would throw stuff at me to see how I would react. So we're sitting at lunch one day, just talking, having whatever I'm eating, just minding my own business, we're just casual conversation. All of a sudden he blurts out, well, what do you think about the nuns who abort their babies? Out of the blue. What do you think about the nuns who abort their babies? And I look at him and I go, well, that's indefensible. You can't say anything about it. He goes, oh, okay. Just like that. And that's what he would do. He would throw up just stuff like that against me all the time, just to see how I would react as a Christian. Whether I would try to defend something which is completely indefensible. How can you defend that? You can't. Right? You can't. It's absurd. So I take him outside and I go, Roger, I hope you realize what happened in that room on Saturday. And he looked at me and his eyes got really big. And he said, LA, and this was huge for him, LA, I now believe there's a supernatural dynamic to the UFO/abduction phenomena, and I am going to tell Whitley Strieber about it. Unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable. And so, the next couple of pictures, this is all documented. If you have a queasy stomach, you might want to look away. These are actual still shots from the operation, so you can see that there's something there. There's the incision. We open the incision. We get our first look at the implant. You can see it being held by the tweezers, and the scalpel is cutting it away. There's Dr. Roger Lear assisting. And that's what the implant looks like. It's encased in a substance which keeps the body from expunging it. And this implant was 40 years old. It's one of the earlier ones. You could cut it with a scalpel. The one before that, which was much, much newer, and I'm not making this stuff up, because he had 17 of these. I think it's number 16. You couldn't cut it with a diamond blade mini saw. They had to take it to a lab and cut it open with a laser. So there's a progression to these things. Someone is spending a lot of time, effort, and resources doing this stuff. And you'll notice that it was like right underneath the surface of the skin. By the way, there's no entry wound there in the man's leg. There's no point of entry wound. I'll give you another bizarre thing, and we don't have time. There's so much to talk about this phenomena. For instance, the cattle mutilation phenomena. What do you do when you come out and you see a 1,500-pound prize bull laying on the ground with its sex organs cored out, its tongue cored out, and completely drained of blood? And then when the vet gets there and does an autopsy, they don't call it that, but a post-mortem on the cadaver, they find out that the heart, the animal's heart, has been somehow taken out of the animal without breaking the pericardium, which is the sac which surrounds it. That's impossible. How do you do that? This is what we're dealing with. We are dealing with highly nefarious, malevolent entities that have an agenda. What does Genesis 3 say? The seed of the serpent will be at enmity with the seed of the woman. So what's going on here? In my opinion, there's a breeding program going on. As in the days of Noah, so it will be when the Son of Man returns. I spent an hour and a half talking about the days of Noah. Now fast forward to 2015. Is it similar? Is it like the days of Noah? In my opinion, you bet. They're back and they're doing the same stuff that they did thousands of years ago in antiquity, but it's slightly different. Are they creating hybrids? In my opinion, absolutely. And we'll get into that. Are they spending time with this implant? Yes, and I'm going to go someplace with this. And it's conjecture on my part, but it's based on the research. Let's move on. That's myself and the late Dr. Roger Lear. So this is one of the hybrid beings. This is from a New Age site, the other side of the aisle. Listen to what they say. This is channeled information. Channeling means that the entity which is speaking through them is, in my opinion, and from a biblical worldview, is demonic. Can't be trusted. The purpose of the hybrid children community is to connect hybrid children with their human families. Our mission is to create a high-frequency cocoon based on the guidance we receive from the kids to reflect the vibration of their reality, to boost us and support us in remembering and awakening to more of our infinite galactic selves. Good luck with that. We're excited to shift to the actual physical reality where the hybrids land, and it just goes on and on. The bottom line is there's a breeding program. There are hybrids. This is the next clip I want to show you is Dr. David Jacobs, who has been a pioneer in the whole abduction phenomenon. He was a history professor at Temple University. He was the only professor in the United States to teach an accredited course on the abduction phenomena. And watch what he says about the hybridization, what is going on. He is not a Christian. He is not a supernaturalist. I've tried to speak to him about this. He's like this, doesn't want to hear anything about it. He's also Jewish and doesn't want to hear anything about it. And I bet you if I sat him down, possibly his denial of this might trace back to the Holocaust. I don't know. Because a lot of Jews just went after the Holocaust. They went, there can't be a God. There can't be. But that's a topic for another time. Let's move on. This is Dr. David Jacobs. I'm just going to get to...
Can you tell us what is the reason for this and what is their intention?
People have asked me that question for years, for many, many years. Do you think they're walking around among us? Are hybrids walking around among us? And I used to love that question because it always made me feel sane when I said, absolutely not. There's no evidence whatsoever that they're walking among us. And I felt good, and I felt like I could actually say no to something. Now, having spent since 2003 investigating this subject of just that point, I can say that my defense has been stripped away. I can't feel sane anymore. I have to just, I'm all in with this in a sense. And the evidence has now pushed me to the situation, to the position where I think that this is an infiltration program, an integration program into the society, and it started maybe 10 years ago, something that these beings have called the change, and they've been calling it that for many years. And I think the change has happened, and that there are hybrids who look quite human.
So when I asked him, I said, what do you think about this? And Dr. David Jacobs said, I despair. This is a direct quote from Watcher 7. Despair more so now than ever before. But when I look at the future, I don't like it. It's exactly the opposite of the way I started. When I first started examining the UFO phenomena, I was thrilled that this could be contact between two civilizations. Now, it's exactly the opposite. This is the exploitation of one species over another. It's done for purposes we don't know. Don't understand why they're doing this, but it's kind of a replacement program.